Okay, well, welcome everyone to another Freelance Mom Spotlight interview. And today we have Heddi Cundle, and she is the founder and owner of a company called mytab.co, not com, but .co. And and I'll just give you a little Cliff Notes version of her and her company. She has, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but around 2 decades of experience in marketing and PR.
Yeah.
She's lived kind of all over the world, in England and New York and California, and I think now you're in San Francisco.
Yes.
And she founded this company, MyTab, back in 2011. And the reason why I had Heddi come on for 2 reasons, and that is she's a first-time entrepreneur, and I think there's a lot to learn from somebody who's just now doing this. And then also she's created a sort of a new product. She didn't go out and create something that already exists and saturated competitive marketplace. You actually have like little to no competition, I think, and I think that's kind of interesting. And you're actually trying to solve a real frustration that your target audience is experiencing. So again, welcome to all the people that will be listening to this, and welcome to you as well.
Brilliant. You did it very, very well.
Okay, good. That was a good description. Okay, excellent, excellent. So were you born in England?
Yeah, I was born in Northern England. I'm just going to shuffle forward. I was born in Northern England, and I moved here in the 90s to New York, and I was back and forth between New York in the 90s, and then I officially moved back over here in 2002 to LA, lived there about 2-3 years, and then I moved it to San Francisco, yes.
Oh, wow, great. Sunny California.
Yes, there you go.
I wanted to start asking you, I mentioned that you started MyTab back in 2011, but
yes.
I saw that you actually had this idea back in 2005. So what was going on in 2011 that you just said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go and I'm going to start this thing?
It wasn't a case of that. I've always been the kind of person that people always said, you know what, go ahead and just start your own company. You have that personality. You're really feisty. You're this, you're that. Go ahead and go and do it. And I was always in the mindset of like, I like the security of having a job, and I like feeling like I treat every company like my own. But I have that security. Then I realized afterwards, somewhere near towards 2000, it was like mid-2010, something triggered off, and I don't know what it is. I've always treated every company like I own it. Why don't I just own it? So it wasn't like I've always wanted to be my own boss. I don't like the responsibility of being my own boss. I mean, hopefully one day I'm going to get a CEO to take over me, because I don't think I'm the best person to be running potentially one day a huge corporation. That isn't my personality. It's going to be better for somebody else. But the objective of where did it switch? Something triggered. My green card came through. I thought, right, do I want to now do a lot more freelance? Well, what do I want to actually now freelance? I thought, let me just test out and ask a few people what do they think about this idea that I've had since 2005. And I spoke to a few major corporations and pioneers in online travel, and they all said, like, just do it. It's so multi-loaded, do it. So thinking about doing it was actually while I was doing it. So I spoke to Sam, who's one of our advisors. I never told him what it was, but he goes, there's a guy that I know is an amazing technical engineer. Have a conversation with him. I sat down with Sam, and it was just because more people kept validating it, saying like, this is just off the charts. This will change e-commerce. It will change it for small businesses who now can generate revenues at slow times. It'll change gift cards and gift card laws. It will change the economy. And the more people that kept saying this to me, the more you think, if enough people say that you're doing something rubbish, you have to realize that these are going to be customers. They're not going to say it. If enough people kept saying yes, it just naturally progressed. And the next minute, I was doing it. I mean, I've never done anything completely to the norm. I mean, any scenario at any time, I have never, ever, ever followed through with in the typical sense. So this makes sense that this wasn't a specific conscious objective. This just fell. Yeah. It just fell right into place.
Well, so let's start from the beginning, sort of when you were launching this thing. I mean, what was your very first step? Because it sounds like you've developed all this kind of stuff already, right? And you've sold the vision to the travel industry and to your users, which I want to kind of understand kind of how many users you actually have built up in the last year and a half. But what was sort of like that first step if we go back to sort of the idea? What did you know, okay, I have to do this to make this possible?
Oh, so this is very, very simple. But actually, from from the idea, and I wrote the original idea down. I've got it locked away on a CD somewhere with all the date and the time stamped and the whole thing. And I did the poor man's like, mail it to yourself. And obviously, then we evolved by filing a patent. I went in 2005 to this company in Vegas for an interview for a marketing director position. We travelled. They wouldn't tell me what they were doing. They were being really stealth mode. I had no idea what they were doing. And they started giving me slight clues in the interviews. And then they said to me, what do you think we're doing? So I said, I think you're doing something that's related to loyalty, because there's no loyalty in travel, because we spend weeks trying to find the best deal, and at the end of the day, did we get the best bang for our buck when we booked it? It's the only industry that we actually spend 4 weeks trying to find something that is $5 cheaper than something that we saw 3 weeks earlier. It is insane. So I said, the whole country is insane. The whole planet's actually insane, because this is the only industry that we do. We don't run from Macy's to Bloomingdale's to somewhere. You don't run from store to store trying to find something $5 cheaper. That's why do we do it in travel? And it's invariably for those $5. It's ridiculous. And then he stopped me. He goes, actually, no, that's not what we're doing. And he starts telling me what they're doing, which I don't even remember now what they were doing. And I was thinking, no, don't like it, don't like it. Halfway through the interview, he asked me, what did you say again about yours? I said, no, I just made something up. It's never going to flow. Because in the back of my mind now, can't wait to get on the plane on the way back to LA so I can write my notes down. So I came back to LA, wrote all my notes down, and I'm like, this makes sense. We are insane. We are repeating the same problem again and again. We're expecting a different result. The idea of booking travel is so exciting. The idea of planning it and of when it's confirmed is so exciting. The idea of being on the trip or heading to the trip is absolutely amazing. Biggest problem, you have those 2-3 weeks in the middle of, I've gone online and I've gone over to, say, Orbit. I'm now going to do it. And then it comes into this massive shuffling, or where should I go? And you've got all these tabs open. And for those few weeks, you have lost all of that fun experience before and after. And it kills it because the prices are all over the place. So it's screwing all on the industry because the prices are nuts. It's a very nice full circle, but it originally came down to that interview with that company, which I checked for probably about a year, quite retentive to see what's going on with them. Never saw a single thing happen with them at all. They never took off. But mine, it planted a massive seed. And then I had loads of things going on over the years, and I'm like, it was at the right place and time. Then I waited for the green card, and obviously now you know the second part. But writing down my original notes in 2005, there's probably about 5% more that I've evolved from that. But the original concept I have not veered off from the original writing, is because the same problem was still around when I launched it in 2011.
Yeah.
That original, there's no loyalty in travel, and we're all completely clinically insane for doing the sending again and again, expecting a different result. That was still there when we launched.
Well, so when you launched, what was your milestones that you thought about? Did you think, okay, I want to get to a certain amount of users, I want to get these types of supplier relationships, like with Expedia? What were the milestones you set for yourself when you first?
Well, the milestones, you want to setting for yourself like specific goals. Like I'm very impatient, so I'm expecting the world to basically just fall at my feet and just wow. We did loads of focus groups and testing. So I mean, because it's good, it's a really, really good concept. It's not like when I see startups that get like $10 million of funding, it's because they knew somebody who knew the VC who was an entrepreneur to something somewhere along the way, and they got a load of money, and now they are one step ahead of their competitors, and they're all in the same crowded space because investors like to invest. Silicon Valley isn't how I predict it was many years ago before I was here. It was based on the innovation and the risk, and it's not based on that now. So when you're looking at investment money, I was firstly thinking that we would have got investment money, but they have rules. They want the ex-Google tech engineer, and you've got to have maybe done one other startup, or you have to be very, very, very tight with somebody who's going to put you in an incubator where you have training for 3 months, and they get you groomed up, ready to go, and they introduce you to other people. We had to do it the really, really hard way. So a milestone in one respect that I had down was like, by now we would have got funding. We haven't. So we're having to go and get revenue from somewhere else, and go and get business revenue, getting money from somewhere else to be able to fund that. And we're doing that through small business associations, but also then licensing out the technology. That, when we lock it down, will bring in a huge chunk of change, and we'll never need to go to a VC or an angel investor, 2 different tiers of investors again. Which by that time will be absolutely hysterical, because that's when they will want to be able to give us everything. It's like the actress that she's not given anything, any freebies, but the day that she's an A-list actress, everybody is giving her things for free. She didn't need it now, she needs it beforehand. So the milestones in that respect of when we launched, we've done lots of focus group and testing. The milestone, everything was absolutely great. We launched softly. We had a basic design. We didn't know whether that basic design was actually going to be okay or whether it was not. People didn't like it. So we upgraded it. We made it into the design that it is now. We've only evolved one piece in the past year of the design. The rest of it, we don't feel that we need to. People understand it and they get it, and it's easy to get through. So the milestones of getting funding didn't happen in the past year, and I've probably driven loads of investors mad, and I don't particularly care, because if they're not going to invest, they're not going to invest regardless, because it's not going to make a difference at this stage.
Yeah.
So the whole filter's now come off. But the second part of, on a milestone that I had predicted of licensing our technology, I thought we're probably going to be about 4 or 5 years down the line. That's happened a lot sooner, and we're now underway with that, and we're now in negotiations. So I think what you should do is always put down a milestone, not do the typical corporate, we have to be achieving X by X amount. Because when you're talking about the bigger picture, I thought we'd have had funding by now. Investors are saying you are so fundable personally. Your business is incredible. Because we don't have that actor Google guy or that actor tech Facebook guy. It didn't work, and you need to have that. You need to have that to get funded in Silicon Valley, or they will not go near you. They just you have to do that. They're now a lot easier about the male versus female, or 2 female founders. They're a lot easier on that, because I also made a bit of a stink this year and quite a few press articles about how disgusting I was. Everybody knows it's a boy club, so that deterred us. But from not getting the funding, maybe it's a blessing in disguise, because maybe we would have been injecting so much on my tab. We're now creating another way to be able to generate the money, and that's coming off really, really well. But in the next probably month or so, we'll be in very good stead, and we actually will never need to get funding at all.
Wow, that's great. So you're completely bootstrapped.
Yeah, we had to get money in from somewhere else. We will survive as a company. We're talking about doing more things with it. We're not talking about the company is going to fall apart and go into nothing because we haven't got the money. No, the money is still there to spend on the company to do it a lot faster and a lot bigger than we want to do. No, we don't have that because we don't have the VC funding. But because we didn't get the VC funding, we decided to start our licensing division a lot quicker.
Well, that's interesting. So what would you... Oh, go ahead.
So because of that, in one respect, it could be the best thing that ever happened to us, because we were rejected by every silly... I mean, I've met with loads of VCs. They all say the same thing. They all love it. They all think that I have this absolute, complete pizzazz. They love the team. They love everything. They will not fund. I have not got that ex-tech engineer from Silicon Valley. But because we couldn't do that, you've got to find another way. And the other way just happened to be moving that milestone further forward by a few years. Right, let's go licensing out now. I think when you have like milestones of how many users you want to get, milestones of how much revenue you want to get, milestones of how many features you want to introduce, I think you can plod along with that when it comes down to the big picture of, do we now want to go global, which we are going to be going global shortly as well. We're doing that sooner than we thought we would, because America has a gifting mentality, whereas the rest of the world has a saving mentality. So we want to pull up now heavily on the saving side of the feature of what we have available. So we will shortly then be integrating going global. I thought going globally so people not in the US can use my tab to fundraise and save travel, because at the moment it's US outbound travel or US domestic. That's happening a lot sooner as well. But that came because we didn't get the funding.
Yeah. Well, y'all are profitable at this point, right? With the business model?
A company that we're doing and what we're doing now, no, it's not going to be classed as profitable. You won't go into profit until like year 2 or year 3.
Okay.
It will take a while. If you're having a corner store, if I had a store in the corner, irrelevant of what I'm selling, I'd have been profitable in the first probably few months. When you're doing a Silicon Valley kind of startup and you're working as an entrepreneur in this kind of realm, it can be a really long time before you become profitable. It can be like 2-3 years, but that's actually average to do. Yeah. You're getting revenues coming in, and that's totally fine, but the profit of what you've invested in, you're doing something really different. So when you're doing something really different and you haven't got that funding behind you, no, you don't turn around. So our numbers are really sporadic at the moment now. So we're in the thousands of customers. We'll have over 100,000 uniques. I think we're hitting like 120,000 this month. 38% return rate of customers coming back to us. So that's really, really, really good for us. But when you're looking at like milestones in that kind of sense, and you're looking at revenues, everything changes.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a typical pattern of I have a corner store and I've got 6 months that I've got maybe a small loan and I'm going to start bringing in money now and I can start selling and I can start discounting. We're not a discount store.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do that. That's against our business ethics. But it could be about 2-3 years before we bring money in.
Yeah. Well, as you've gone through this launch, like the last year and a half, so I know funding has been a challenge, but you've kind of worked through that, and now you're figuring out a way to make that happen. But was there anything else that came up through all of this where you're like, oh my God, I did not expect that to happen, or I didn't expect that kind of response? Or...
Yeah, there was one thing, and I've actually, one of my advisors, Tom Feremsky, always said to me, remember when you're doing a startup, it's a lifestyle change. I mean, your whole life does change. So when people say, it doesn't, and you know what, I've still got the same friends and this and that, I had to be really, really aware of this, and it really threw me for a loop. It might not happen to everybody else. I might just be, again, because I'm always in the oddball scenario, that I might just be in that one case. I lost about 95% of my friends when I started. They were so annoyed that I was now doing something different outside of the pocket. I was working 17, 18-hour days. I wasn't around to be with them. They were livid about it. They didn't like what I was doing. They ridiculed it. And I just tons of friends dropped. It was quite traumatic in one sense because I just didn't expect people to be so nasty and so vindictive about it. But I've also been told by other people that has happened as well. People have dropped off the radar. I think maybe my personality is, Heddi is just rolling along and she's fun and we think we can control her. And then I do something like this, but then I've done other things before. It throws them for a loop. It takes them out of the comfort zone, and instead of supporting, they reject, and they reject really fast and furiously. Now, there's only a few other people that I know who have done startups that have the same scenario. It might happen, it might not happen. Your lifestyle will change in every single direction. You're bootstrapping, so you're not going out. You're going out maybe once a week, if that. You're not going out for dinner. You're only going out for drinks because you want to keep your budget down, but you want to keep yourself sane by going out. And you've got to go out. Because of this lifestyle change, as Tom Feremsky, my advisor, always said, your lifestyle changes. It's a very, very dark and lonely environment that you are in when you're doing a startup. And your friends will absolutely drop by the wayside because they don't understand it. It's like you have given birth to a company and none of your friends have not even remotely near getting pregnant. So you have now very little in common with them. You don't relate to each other. I think I relate to them, absolutely. They don't relate to me. And there's a certain level of envy that comes into that as well, which I'm not going to say in a bad way, but there is a level of envy. They're annoyed I'm going to be successful, and they are really, really annoyed, and they don't want to jump on the coattails. It doesn't happen to everybody, but your lifestyle changes. Another thing is, I'm a massive loner. For someone that's a big talker, I'm an incredible loner. I love being by myself. I absolutely thrive on doing my own thing, just myself and my dog. I can't describe how much. If I could sit in a cupboard, a dark cupboard, eating chocolate with my dog for the rest of my life, just sat there, just quietly and reading, I would do that. When I'm out, I put the face on and that I go for it. It is a very, very, very lonely environment. I love it though. I thrive off that. So what you end up losing out on the friends actually makes it better for me because I've got the environment, the ideal environment. It's going to change. We'll have to get an office. It's going to kill me to do it. But for now, I am adoring this kind of environment. So they're the things that I didn't expect. They're the things that I got. The friends part really threw me for a loop. The lifestyle change, I didn't realise how severe the lifestyle change works. If you maybe got a store or a storefront, that's different. If you're doing a startup like that I'm doing, the very Silicon Valley, and you're doing something that's technical, I am going through the same boat as thousands and thousands of other people who didn't get funding and who have to find other ways. And the drop-off rate is 90% of startups don't survive. Only 5% of startups actually get funded.
Yeah.
Maybe mine going to be and change a direction of, is this what I expected? No. Did I expect the money to go down in this direction? No. Did I bootstrap it and was I managing my finances so specifically? Absolutely yes. That's what you have to do.
But so in terms of time, I've talked to different entrepreneurs. Some of them, they have a business where they just want a comfortable income and they spend, 3 hours a day on it or whatever. But how much time are you actually spending and what are you doing versus what you're outsourcing?
We're not outsourcing anything.
Oh.
And we've got everything in-house. I mean, my background's PR marketing for 20 years, so that's the biggest advantage to us. I can PR. Odie always said that we need to have really heavy PR marketing to keep us going and get us going to the next scale. And that's actually really good for me because I'm incredibly good at. I can't cook for the life of me. I'm a terrible, terrible cook. I am great at PRing and marketing, and so obviously I'm in the right forte. We're not outsourcing at all. Hours-wise, I've always been a workaholic. I'm actually very, very okay about doing that. I do need to get a better life balance. I could not do 3 hours a day and sit there and just enjoy it and get a regular income coming through. That's absolutely not what I'm doing because there's always something else that I see I should be doing, I could be doing because I'm thinking at the end of the day, I have a team of people that are working with me. We all want to succeed really well for this. I have to be the driving force in the majority respect, especially now. And at the end of the day, when it comes down to what I said we're going to give our customers and what I said we're going to do for the industry, and to be able to change the economy and to change e-commerce and smooth out those problems, you don't do those on 3 hours a day. Some people like doing it, and that works for them in what they do, telemarketing or sales or something online. Fine, it brings them an income. I'm heading for $1 billion, and when you're heading for over $1 billion, you work anywhere between 14 and 18-hour days. I break average 75 hours a week. Wow. I can easily go to 85, 90 a week if I'm pushing it. I'm in that mood like I was a week and a half ago. I broke 100. I'm totally fine with that because I've got extreme, I'm sure you get it, extreme levels of energy. I'm incredibly hyperactive. I don't burn out easily, but when I need to literally lay down at 7 o'clock in the evening, 3 nights in a row, and watch Lifetime movies because I can't physically move and I need to reset myself because I'm in it for the long haul, yeah, of course I'll do that.
Have you felt like you've made any mistakes along the way in this last year and a half? Like, gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think anybody that says I haven't made mistakes is insane. If anybody says, in your life, have you ever made mistakes? I'm like, God, the past 8 years, I would have changed everything. There's things that I would have just bypassed and not have so much aggravation or upset or work. There's so many things I would have done completely differently. So the last year and a half in this, the design at the beginning wasn't right. I thought it was right, but we needed something to get going, and I knew the guy, and he's an amazing designer. And this wasn't 100% the right thing for him, but we didn't realise that at the time. We launched it. We thought the business... When Twitter started, you had to text. It was the most terrible design. Facebook started. It was the worst design. People now expect you to have a perfect design from the get-go. Sometimes you don't. That was a mistake. We had to then pay to get it done again. It wasn't the worst thing in the world because millions of people can do designs for websites. You know what? We can do it as well. And we did it. And we did it beautifully. And this design is gorgeous. We love it. Customers love it. The second thing is, would I have spent so much time on pushing on investors? I probably had the ego that, yes, I would get the money, but I was also being encouraged by these investors that, yes, you're doing something amazing and incredible. So you're going to keep pursuing it. It's got to be the right person. I would have absolutely, completely bypassed that, not spent the time and effort on that, and I would have gone straight to licensing. I would have gone straight. The second we have the technology, it's irrelevant whether it's working for us at the time that we launch or how fast it's working. A major institute bank or an e-retailer, an online major retailer, Fortune 50, it makes no difference what we're using it for. It would change their concept for them. They would use it for their own. So, we would have gone straight into licensing. I would have used Expedia for the hotels, and I'd have done that immediately, and not flights. I would have switched over and used our new contractor for international flights. So Expedia stays for hotels and flights. We're doing that a year down the line. I would have totally done that at the beginning and gone global immediately.
Yeah.
It's different mentality. There's a few other things as well that I would have done, which comes more into like the fine print. But if you wouldn't have done this, if I could have changed it, yes, I would have absolutely changed it. Do I know that I could have chosen that at the very beginning? No.
Yeah.
So it's a moot point. But absolutely these things I would have completely changed. I would have never done them in that direction. I don't care that people say it's a learning curve. It's a different tenacity in your brain of how your brain thinks that should make you think, right, we've launched immediately, let's go for licensing while we're the same amount of time we're going for investors. Why do I have to go national? Why can't we go global? I know Europe's going to love it. I'm British. Why do we go global? These are logical things. So I missed out on the logic. But then again, you've got so many other things that you've achieved, so one offsets the other.
Yeah,
if I could have changed, yes. Could I have? No, because I wasn't thinking of the same brain set.
No, that's true. And the good thing is about you is you didn't give up, because a lot of people, they might run into some challenges and think, okay, this isn't going to work. Let me just go try something different. And so you kind of kept with it and said, okay, well, this is something that's happened, and here, let's do this better, and you just move along. So that's kind of a good lesson.
If you're doing something that's online, or you're doing something that's technical for anybody that's that's watching this, if you believe so madly, and you're going to have blips along the way that you're going to say, you know what, I can't do this, what we're doing. It's not so much that you don't believe in your product, it's the fact that you are so penny pinching on what you're doing, everything has completely changed. The last time I went out for an actual dinner, like a normal dinner, where I had more than I think I had something that was like $10 the other week, because I had to feel like a normal person. But going out for a normal dinner with friends, I haven't done that for 2 years. If you don't like that and your lifestyle changes and it's too extreme for you in your lifestyle, you're not the right person to do this job. Anybody that thinks it didn't kick off the way, I understand why people will have dropped off the radar by now. I totally understand it. I just keep thinking, I think the whole world is completely insane. And when you're doing something this big with such a strong vision, it didn't happen overnight. Apple, it took them like Apple 10 years before they got themselves going. Google have been going for 6 years before anybody even realised who the heck they were. It wasn't until 2004. They've been going since 1998. You're looking at Airbnb now, multi-billions at the word, or over $1 billion. They've been going. They only in the last year and a half did they actually take off. They've been going for 3 years prior. You look at sites like Kickstarter. They've been going for 3 years before anybody even knew who they were. People know who we are now, and we've been doing it for a year and a half. So I think we're ahead of the game in one sense. We haven't had that massive breakthrough. We're having that surge that we can sit back now and focus on other things with the business. No. But you have to look at the bigger picture. If you don't look at the bigger picture and you're looking at why has this not happened exactly now, or why we are not at the same milestone that we should be at now, you've got to maneuver. Because if you don't, then you're a crappy entrepreneur in the first place.
Speaking of getting people, what were your main methods of even getting people to come to your site? Getting users to actually start saving or planning a trip and that sort of thing?
The main thing that we got people doing this from was primarily PRing and marketing. I mean, I know people they only do PR, they only do marketing, they only do this, they only do that. Mine's always been like, are you joking? This is all you do? Are you a one-trick pony? I've been a C-level exec since I was in my first job, randomly enough. I think I had one time that I downsized and then went back up again. I've always done that because I was always thrown into everything I was doing, and I just always started PRing and marketing. I failed every single exam at school, but I won every single award for creative because I just knew how to maneuver, like the PR, the marketing, the promotions, the events, the sales, the advertising sales, the all the branding, the vision. You have to put it all together, and if you're not using one, you've got to use the other. So straight away, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest wasn't really around at the time. It only really kicked off this year. So maybe a few months ago, I thought, you know what, just do it. It's not the biggest thing to us, but if you don't do it, it stands out. The same thing with Google+. The rest of it was pure tweeting out with customers like one-on-one and rallying that up. Facebook, it gives us a lot of traffic, but people on Facebook hardly comment, they hardly like, but we do get a lot of traffic. So it seems like it's like you're talking to a brick wall, but it actually gives us a great amount of traffic. And the rest of it was absolutely heavy marketing, PRing. We're not doing events. We haven't got the money to go and do conferences and get these amazing designs and displays and promote that. We're not doing that. That's ridiculous. And sponsoring events, no, that's ridiculous. We don't need that. I hopefully will never need to be like an event speaker at a conference or be on a panel, the whole tech thing, because it doesn't really make a difference to me. It's the consumers that I'm bothered about. So when we did our upgrade design, it was by mid-October, we were working like 20, 21 hours every single day. And this was like 3 weeks. It gave us a very short turnaround. And we had to get going. We had to do it before Christmas. Because of that, I then pushed every major travel journalist and gift cards. And we got CS and NBC. We got Fox and USA Today.
But how did you do that? What did you say to them?
Getting in touch with journalists and saying, you know what, I'm doing something different. This is what I'm doing. I'm not going to go into the specifics and the hows and the whys and the deep-rooted, but if you want to gift somebody this year, gift back to the value and the emotion. Give them a gift card on my tab. They can use it towards a 2012 dream trip. You know the money's being used towards something beautifully specific, and you also know that the customer at the end of the day is actually, they were taking a trip regardless, or the work, but maybe they need one. This is basically what we're doing. So we were very specific in the concept of what we were doing in the in the pitching, because that's my background. So all I did was basically just rally up and find out all the journalists who have written about gift cards, who wrote about travel, go through databases. There's a company called Vocus, which is really, really good, vocus.com, and you can buy a database. So basically I did a one-time with them, I bought a database, I've worked with them before. I buy a database of journalists, I then go through and scrutinise every single one, put together the perfect pitch. These are the journalists that I really want to target. I've got the contact information, I wanted to target them anyway. Now I'm getting hold of these people. And you pitch again and again. Then you're thinking, right, what about now for personal finance, for managing your money? Everybody talks about that, but don't talk about it in travel. For some reason, personal finance in travel is completely ignored. Then you've got honeymoon registries. That's another media angle. Then you've got students. Then you've got media that are writing about fundraisers. Then you've got students doing study abroad. Philanthropy travel. The LGBT gay audience. They're massive travellers. They always have loads of money to be able to spend on travel. The group trips for them is a really, really big thing. Yeah, obviously the gay audience. And then you're looking at all different subsets. So what you do is you create all these like Excel sheets of your wish list of all the people you want to target. And you contact again, and you email again. I don't do press releases, I do pictures again and again. And then once a month, we email out 2 days mid-month to a journalist, and then 2 days later to our customers. So we're always upgrading and always evolving in what we're doing on updating them. We know some of the journalists look at it, some of them don't, but we actually have a really good open click-through rate of what we're doing from journalists. We're not sending out press releases. We are once a month sending them, this is new stuff that we're doing. You're knowing 2 days ahead of time. It's not being done in that kind of sense before. We don't care. It's not being done in the, you don't send out, we're a press release free zone. We don't care. Somebody's going to do something different. We're doing everything different, so we might as well do everything different all in one go. And you do it again and again and again. So if you're not tweeting, every day you're doing a Pinterest, or every few days. Facebook, you're doing every day. Twitter, some of them are, I've got them all set and they're ready to go. Other ones, I'm just responding back to customers immediately. The rest of it is PRing and promoting and going through other different sources and you're doing this all the time.
Yeah. So what, just to end, what piece of, like, do you have like 3 pieces of advice that you can give any woman? Because I know you run a technology company, and so, and I actually read on Inc. magazine, I think this was like a couple of years ago, but only 9% of founders of technology companies are women. So
I think that's actually moved. That actually hasn't really moved.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think
it's like I think it's about, still Silicon Valley is about 7%, and I think New York, the East Coast, is actually, that's, you're talking about maybe total, I don't know. Yeah. And now that I've got notes somewhere that I spoke to a woman over at a bank who works very much with Silicon Valley, and she said that it hasn't gone over 10%. I think 7%. I think the East Coast is like 9%, and the West Coast is 7%. It's ridiculous. It's rubbish. I think that's part of that is because women are not seeing themselves as founders. They need to have that co-founder, so it's not classed as a female-founded company. It has to be a co-founder. I mean, I'm doing it by myself. Single, female founder, first-time entrepreneur with no tech experience. If you're going to do it, you might as well screw the whole system. That's what, you might as well just do it all. It's like, it's no big deal. And maybe I'm pioneering. Maybe I will one day be classed as changing the face of it. I don't know. I don't care. I think that investors should be focusing on the product and not on. I always get gender and genre mixed up. The gender, isn't it?
Yes.
Men and women is gender. Genre is jazz. Right. So I think that it should be focusing on the product. They don't. Everybody knows that. So my 3 tips that I would suggest: if you don't want to be a female entrepreneur to get that 9 or 7% or whatever it is increasing, don't do it. Don't do it because you have to prove a point. Do the job because you really want to do it, that you are going to change something. It is irrelevant whether you are wearing a skirt or wearing trousers. It makes no difference. But don't do it to defy, because it will then be the highest drop-off rate of women who founded a company for all the wrong reasons, just because they're a bunch of feminists. Don't do it. Focus on the business if you want to do it. If you're going to do it, blood, sweat, and tears, do it. The second tip that I would give, if you absolutely believe that you're doing something right and you have been given good feedback, you're never going to be given like bad feedback in one sense, but if people say, you know what, I wouldn't use it and I'm not really keen on it, it doesn't make sense, Go to panels where that you do have investors, and they will critique you. They have to critique you on something. They can't say you are fantastic, because then you're going to say, well, okay, fund me. So they're always going to have to critique you and pull you down a bit. What you need to do is get as much feedback as possible from people who are at that event. Do they like it? If enough people don't like your product, don't do it. If they don't understand it, or they're impartial to it, or it's moving towards a positive, do it, because that means that you're doing something that is different.
Yeah.
My third one is you have to remember your lifestyle is going to change. You might have what I have, where you downsize all your friends. I don't care, because one day when we're making multi-millions coming through, I remember those 5 people on my hand. I think I'm actually down to 4 now. I remember those people. I don't care about the others. I'm a loner anyway. I'm very happy to do my own thing. If you have to be a social butterfly, maybe entrepreneurship is doing your own startup isn't good for you. Your lifestyle in every sense will completely change. And those people probably won't stick around. You'll have only a few. You have to accept it. You have to remember you are the person that, no, that won't happen to me. Everybody will stick around. All my friends will use my site. Not one of my friends use my site naturally. They just jumped off the radar. They just didn't do anything. They didn't follow through at all. They weren't involved. They didn't support. They just didn't use it. You can't expect that. You have to get going. If you have 5 friends a year later, keep those 5 friends around you. Then others that drop off the radar, that don't follow through, that's fine, because you're saving a load of money from not going out for dinner with them or drinks with them. Save the money, use your money for your business. And always remember, you are not focusing on your friends for business. You are not relying on them. Never, ever rely on them for anything to do with your business. With your business, keep it under wraps. Don't tell people too many things that are going on, because that jealousy thing can start creeping in, even subconsciously. Go straight for your customer base. You always have to stick to your guns on that. Don't think that your friends are going to jumpstart you. They just don't. Now, when you're doing your second business, and you've now made millions from your first one, yes, we're going to jump on you. But that's not, it's the hard one is your first business.
It is.
So they're my 3 specifics. And you think it's not going to happen to you? It will. It absolutely will. Everything will completely change.
Great pieces of advice. Thank you. And I'm sure for those that will listen, that'll give them a kind of a true sense of what they might be getting into before they get into it. So that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's the biggest roller coaster. Especially the last 8 years, I've been through a hell of a lot. Lots of things have gone on in so many directions, and I have got through every single one. I don't know how or why, but I've done it because I think there's right versus wrong, and I've blown through every one. And there's so many things that have happened, and I've always won. I have always won based on sheer perseverance. And that I believe that what other people have done is wrong, and in different scenarios. I thought this, starting my company, a whole different ball game, and I will just roll with it. And this was, in one sense, the biggest challenge, because I have never had anything directly affect my work. I've always been very sure of that. This has directly affected, obviously, my livelihood, my social life, and your general mentality. So this has actually been, in one sense, the hardest achievement of anything I've ever gone through in the past few years, because it's so incredibly personal.
Yeah.
And it changes everything, but I get that it can't break you. It's not allowed to break you because you love it too much, because you created it. All you're doing is you believe in it. You just need other people just to believe in it, and it just starts rolling. And if you believe that all these other people that have said, yes, we love it, we love it, we love it, all these people can't be wrong.
I just wanted to thank you, Heddi, for this has been so helpful, and I really appreciate the time that you've taken to go through some of the challenges that you faced and give some advice to some of the women that are on the fence and they want to start a business, or somebody that's actually running one, especially a technology startup like yourself. So this has been great, and I'm going to definitely be following you in MyTab. And for those that are watching, you can go to mytab.co, and you can start saving and planning and booking those dream trips, or you can go give a gift to somebody else as a birthday or anniversary or fundraising, and just go check it out.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heddi.
Bye.